Welcome back to Real Nonsense, episode 10. Wow, 10 already. Thrilled. I am Toni Smyth, your host.
I am Ronnie Heath, CEO of Real PE.
And I'm John Parsons, Director of Innovation at Real PE.
If you've not joined us before, this podcast is all about the nonsense that still exists in standard practice in PE that wouldn't exist in any other subject. We aim to present to you the small tweaks and changes that you can make in your everyday practice in PE that will turn something that seems like a complete nonsense into a fabulous, joyful learning experience. Welcome back, both of you. Thrilled today for today's topic, which is, let's have a drum roll for this one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we haven't had a drum roll for a while. Let's drum. Is running a set standardised distance as a daily activity in primary schools. Lots of companies out there offering it. Lots of schools, I've seen it in practice. I've seen evidence of it in practice. So what do we think? Ronnie, I'll come to you first. What do we think? A nonsense, having a daily activity where we run a standard distance?
Well, let's try and tick off some things. I'm not sure we'll agree on all of this, will we? I would say it's definitely not a nonsense to have daily activity and to have a really wide range of really thoughtful ways where we build daily activity into our program. So I think that's a really important thing. I probably should say depends, and I know...
Oh, hang on. I don't think we've had a depends before. I love this. It's taken us to episode 10 where we're going to do a normally we're straight into, that is a complete nonsense. Look, so it's lovely to have a depends. I'm
going to say that. And I know that I've seen some reasonable stuff. I know you guys have. So you'll be able to expand on the depends better. Now, I'm not going to try and do that. Instead, I'm going to really lean into the fact that it's a nonsense that we think the best way of doing daily physical activity is to make all children run the same amount of distance every morning. If you're screaming out there, talking about the fact that you've really made that work and there are all key principles around education and learning that you can apply to that context, then I'm happy to be told that that does exist. And I think you guys have got better examples to give, so that's coming. But I'm going to talk about that stuff. I'm going to be really honest with you. Again, I often, when I feel in a good mood, share the fact that I had a moment as a parent, because it only happened when my youngest child was in primary school that this happened. And I actually went to the school and said, yeah, don't worry, I'm bringing him in 15 minutes late. I had a job at this stage where I can be flexible in my time. I said, I'm going to take him to the park instead. And we're going to go and do some stuff together that I think is going to be involved learning and education. And then I'll bring you to school when you're ready to do some education learning instead of some play leading or standing, doing something where all the kids are doing the same thing. And by the way, that kid enjoyed running and would have loved doing that and probably running near the front of it and all the rest of it. I still believe there's just better ways. So I'm going to shut up because I've gone too far with it. I think it's mostly a nonsense, and simply because there's far better ways to introduce daily activity, which involves the thing that schools are meant to do, learning.
See how his voice went up an octave there? Passionate about that one, isn't he? He's passionate. So, John, thanks, Ronnie. John, a real nonsense, the kind of all the same distance, same time of day, standard practice kind of stuff.
Well, I think a couple of things to agree with. I think the concept of daily activity, I'm all over that, and I think are different, aren't they? They're different at different ages and stages. So I think the concept of a standardised, where they're all doing this, I can get it, and we'll probably talk about the reasons for it in a bit. So I think I know what some of those things might be. But I think the idea of everyone has to do it, regardless of their age, in this way, and it's standardised with no voice or choice or option for teachers to do what they do best, which is to adapt and change and meet the needs. If there's the flexibility to do that, then I'm definitely open-minded to it. And it'll all come down to the children. Are the children engaged? All of them? So not just some of them. Are they all engaged? Are they all enjoying it? Are they all learning? They're motivated by it? Then I can see it potentially working. I think the problem I've got is when it becomes very standardised, all the children are treated the same. It doesn't change regardless of what age or stage they're at. I'd have concerns around
John's
that.
honed in on the standardisation, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Because I think if you can ask, sorry, I jumped on you there, Tony. I think that the standardisation is a big one. So if you were to say, is daily reading a good thing in schools? I think we'd say yes, wouldn't we? Yeah? It's so good. Would we all read the same book all together every day as our daily reading. I don't think that's happening in schools.
No. And that's a really interesting concept. So I love this. I love the fact that we've raised what we believe is a nonsense, and we've already unpicked that some of it might be nonsense. It wouldn't happen in other subjects. And only some of it might be a nonsense. And it really depends on how it's used as to whether it's a nonsense. So let's get to the nitty-gritty of why. Why has it become something that might be a bit of standard practice in schools? How did it come about? Why is it used? I've got a couple of thoughts on this. But
I've got the empathy again on this one. Look, you can see where the intent might come from. Children should be more active. I mean, we've spoke about it 1,000 times, so we're not going to say why, okay? So we recognise that. Someone recognises the fact that they start behaving better and engaging better when they've done a bit of activity too. So you can see that by having a guaranteed slot where that absolutely happens, seems like quite an attractive thing.
I was about to say the ease of it, the fact that when we've got generalist teachers who haven't had lots of training in physical education go, here's a slot of the day where I know my children can be active, and I know the benefits of that. I appreciate that. But I don't have to know anything to be able to enact this and set it up.
Yeah. But a highly qualified teacher who could do so much more with their time in terms of prep and play and everything else, why would they do something that involves absolutely no skill could be done by somebody else?
But interesting, I think that happens too, Ronnie. I think it's also used. It became a thing that I've seen it used in schools where it gives that particular teacher an extra 15 minutes planning in the morning every day.
And if we jump by before,
because a TA or an older pupil is leading it.
I think another one is that, and again, we've often said the intent comes from a good place. So the intent, Ronnie, could be right. We know we need to get the children more active. Right? This is a way of getting them more active. It's easy to do. And also, I potentially can show how the children are improving because I can see how many laps they're doing or how far they've run or they've run for longer. So you can see from an intent perspective, you can go, well, isn't that linked to personal best? And you guys talk about personal best a lot. That's what we're doing. So that's where you can see maybe sometimes where it comes from. It's easy to do, it's active, and I can maybe show progress.
Some of the attraction is that there is often aligned to this a digital tool or a way of tracking, or there is an intent to record. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. Suddenly I can show impact because we're doing this every day, you're absolutely right, and that becomes attractive, doesn't it?
And that often isn't what happens, though, is it? But I think that, but you're right. You can see that's what the motivation is. And listen, again, I'm going to repeat. I did say depends at the start. There will be some of these things that we can do to make it better. But just remember, again, part of the key function here is that we're trying to create a normalized, regular, burst of physical activity. There you go. To anyone that knows me well, I've just wedged in a product name of ours, but getting past all that, we're trying to create a positive relationship with physical activity for life. We're trying to create as a normalized part of our day and to be included in all sorts of ways. So just give it a fix.
And I think you've hit the nail on the head, I think. And I've referenced the new physical literacy framework before, which talks about it's not just move, because move by itself, just minutes, is not enough. Mm-hmm. And it's easy to get into that because you can go, well, they're doing more minutes, they've been more active, therefore I'm getting close to the 60 minutes, therefore tick. But actually, what it says, it's not enough. It's moved, it's around connection, it's around how you think and how you feel. Mm-hmm. So if you're not having a positive connection, you don't feel good about it, you can force them, but we can force them to do it, but are we creating a positive connection? And I'm very aware because I've had niece, certainly a nephew I know, that did not want to go to school because it was not being done in the right way.
I was just about to say that the real nonsense would be that if we're connecting thinking and feeling, and the feelings and connection you have is negative, then you are put off. As we know, physical activity can do this, poor physical education can do this. You're put off for life. You're put off from going to school.
That's my association, my relationship with it.
Yeah.
And remember, before they even heard the words physical education, they were balancing on everything, climbing on every wall. They were in and out of every little gap in the thing. They wanted to run over to the equipment in the park. They were doing that long before anyone taught them to do that. So then for us to create a situation where something was joyful long before we called it physical education, and then for a school to then say, well, what we think is good is you running for 15 minutes and we're going to force you to do that. Remember, all of us, in terms of integrity, in terms of education, we're judged not what we do when we're with teachers. We're judged on what we do when we're not with the teachers. We're judged when they leave us, when they go to another year group or another school. That's how we're judged as educators. Great primary school teachers are the ones that can celebrate what their school does and what their children do when they leave them. So just think about that as your big part of activity. I'm going to allow you guys, because I know you've got some better responses on the solutions of the depends. But I think what's good is that you've come up with frameworks and rules about the fact that it's going to be far more than this. So tell us, can I push you two on? Can I ask you, Toni, directly as well? And you, sorry to switch the host chair, because I know.
Well, hang on, we need to swap chairs if you're going to ask the questions.
Yeah, I messed up the whole visual. No, tell us, because I know you have seen some good practice there. So tell how we've taken something that I've now properly had a good go against, because I have seen some rubbish stuff out there on this. But tell me about the 15 minutes, how in a sort of running in the morning, how that's been organised in a way that does take in all these thoughts and principles. What's
you pick this up. Yeah,
just for a start, I've seen it in a few schools where it's not in the mornings, it's not first thing, it's any time. So adding in variety and choice, and not just pupil voice and choice, but teacher and school voice and choice. So taking the standardisation out of it, taking the it must be running out of it. So I've been to a particular school where it fabulous. It was at the end of the day, they had involved the children in designing and marking where the track would go. So it wasn't around the playground; it went all around the school building.
Bit more interesting.
They'd invested in it. They'd mapped it. It was at the end of the school day. There was no requirement to get changed, and it was part of an observation I was doing. And I said to the teacher, "That's really interesting. You're not asking them to get changed." He said, "Well, no, why would I? Because they're probably going to
don't get changed at break and lunchtime.
They don't get changed at break time and lunchtime. And yes, they're in their school shoes, and they probably move more and get more sweaty and more active at break time and lunchtimes than they sometimes are in PE, because we have a different." He said, "So why would I?" So yeah, they're okay in their school uniform. And then the children came. The children came out, and there were skipping ropes. There were a couple of scooters. The boys, particularly because it was boy kind of generated as a choice, could take a ball round with them. So I was a bit like, oh my goodness, how is this going to work? But the repetitive and positive routine was every child got to choose. The only thing that became standardised was a set amount of time, right? So they had a set amount of time.
But not the distance, right?
No, so as long as you're moving for that set time. And the kids, the joy, they came out of that lesson. It was a group of year sixes. They came out of that afternoon session, all had choice, all knew what was happening, completely bought into it, came out, picked up their bit. And I was like, some of the girls were kind of fast-paced walking, chatting to a friend, but nobody refused. They all decided that they were involved in this at their level.
That teacher solved all of
They did it every day. He still recorded, and I asked him about this. He still recorded the distance they were covering.
Okay.
And his challenge was about them collectively covering a certain amount of miles.
It could be a race to somewhere, or make it interesting. You could link cross-curricular links as well.
As a solution,
I'm just getting a little bit uncomfortable now about reliability.
A solution was about
incentives. I won't choose my skipping rope if I know I'm going on a scooter.
But I think there was as a collective, and we've had another
suppose they're all doing the same activity. They're doing
about sports day.
The one they're choosing for a little while. Okay.
Collectively as a class, they were trying to travel from one distance to another that linked to a topic they were doing, and I loved that too. I loved the creativity around. We're buying into this.
I'll be bullying those other kids to make sure they're doing the further distance rather than choosing activities.
Yeah, you'd be at the front. You'd be demanding to put your trainers on.
But hang on, without being now facetious, can I say to all the listeners out there, following what Toni just said then, if you're doing that and you're being really creative and thoughtful and you're basically deliberately overcoming all of the stuff that we've said is perhaps the flaw, then I'd like to apologise to you out there who are doing it that way. And for the other 95%, stop doing that Daily Mail thing. Right.
John, other solutions?
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head, because you've taken the standardised, you have to do it this way, everyone does it the same, you've taken it out. And then I think daily activity, we want it, right? We want more of it.
Yeah.
And then it's around finding creative ways to make that add value to your PE offer. So what you've described there is pupil voice, pupil choice, different skills, different opportunities, using a ball. So to me, that sounds much better. But there's lots of other activities you could also do for 15 minutes that could do all of those things.
I visited an amazing school that had the most amazing lunchtime offer. Really challenging school, challenging pupils, not particularly active as a cohort outside of school, and they had their standardised running offer at lunchtime. As part of, there was trampolining, there was a huge speaker system where the kids could dance, there were more sports-based activities, and on the playground, a little track run by the Year 6s, a little track marked out where people could come and cover a distance and then would total them up on a little scrap of paper and hand them into the P lead. I thought, well, this is really interesting. Lots of children chose to do that in their lunchtime, off their own bat. Lots of the younger children, I think they wanted to interact with the older children, the key stage children, but lots of them chose it. But it was a choice as a variety,
in and out as well,
as a variety, because children love to run. Lots of children love to run. It was a choice as part of a wider offer at lunchtimes, and then they were working on their personal best. So they were building a tally whenever they choose to run. They were rewarded for choosing to be active, just like they were rewarded for choosing to be active on the trampolines or dancing.
I think when you two describe it that way, it sounds very similar to like some of the race walking sort of modules we've ran, haven't they? Where you've really incorporated that and funky little tracks, working and supporting each other, going away and practicing, coming back, PBing, that sort of stuff, learning techniques. I still remember Tisha calling me up and saying, it's been a nonsense. My kids have just been running all lesson. It's not the end of the world, is it? So we could discuss how we can build some great learning.
It's always about how you do it.
But again, by choice and by stuff, how we do it is important. So I'm definitely embracing that.
So let's have some kind of conclusion today.
I just ask what's better? What are the alternatives? What other? Yeah, can I say what other daily activities you might do also?
Yeah.
You said there are other things. I've said there are other things. What might you see as a way of incorporating daily activity?
I've seen lots of within lesson stand-up breaks. We know that by standing up as opposed to sitting down, we flood our brain with more blood and oxygen. So I've seen some stand-up individual activities that are done in the lesson behind a chair, not even leaving the room, but just the activities that are
little regular ones,
that are regular ones in between learning, in between phases of learning that might not be, but they are activity, even if they're 2 minutes long.
They
are activity.
We have a whole program called Real P Daily, which is activities you can either do sort of short 5, 10, 15 minutes. You can do them in the classroom. Some are better for outside. They can be individual, paired, group activities, games, and they're directly linked to their curriculum. So they're reinforcing and building on the things that they're doing in their curriculum.
Yeah, think about not swapping your school time. So if you're going to be running breakfast clubs, I think it's like 7,000 by September and more coming. There's a real opportunity there, isn't there, to have a bit of preschool activity, have some fun with that. Again, all the principles we've discussed, but there's a chance there. So instead of actually taking time out off the school curriculum learning program, you've actually you've bolted that on. And I've seen some really good stuff around getting to school. So working with parents about how we travel to school.
Yeah, active travel is a wonderful one.
Yeah, beautiful one, isn't it? I saw a LinkedIn post, couple actually, from Dance to School. So look, I've shouted out Dance to School.
I was just about to say the old Wake and Shake program. I used to rush to one of the schools I support. I'd get there early because so that I could dance in the hall, and they all came in, and then you had the iPad was passed around as we all chose our songs, and then everybody was just free dancing. It was like school disco every morning for
Wake
15
and Shake.
minutes.
I've worked directly with Ruth, who built Wake and Shake. But yeah, if you heard me shout out for you, Dance to School, can you make sure you like my post as well on LinkedIn? And on a serious note, that's the sort of thing I like. I definitely like the bits in between because actually, again, the science of the learning there is that rather than detracting and taking out that learning minutes, you're adding greater productivity and value to those minutes to the point that you're winning, aren't you, learning when you haven't done that physical activity.
Our most creative teachers I've seen do a certain song that activates the children and they can be active. I've seen them, if we're going to be really we talked earlier
so got little
today
triggers.
about active learning, is that even the removal, Ronnie, you mentioned in a previous podcast, the removal of chairs. We've seen our best nursery staff and EYFS staff remove chairs so that children move between tables more fluidly and have more activity. I've seen it in classrooms where there's a timer on and everybody gets up and moves between tables, or there are not just activity as we would understand it in terms of we are doing something physically active that feels like PE, but just activity in the learning. Go to this table, do this activity, move to this table, answer this question, work with this person.
You couldn't call it physical education in that context, but the act of moving.
Active learning.
The act of moving and the active learning itself is of value without a doubt.
We have one leg balance as part of our fundamental movement skills, program.
You have to go very far with that.
No, and what I love is that we talk about, I used to love it when our schools, the children in our schools sent in pictures to their teachers of them cleaning their teeth, whilst balancing on one leg. Well, I know that the very best of our schools then started to ask children to stand on one leg whilst answering questions or whilst doing parent share in the classroom. So they took what was essentially a physical education outcome for their PE program and they inserted it into their classrooms. And then when there became opportunities for children to stand on one leg whilst doing another activity, another topic in the classroom, they blended those two together. And I loved seeing that.
Some beautiful stuff that you guys have got with the songs and actions. It's lovely. And another shout out to the colleague, Lee Riviello, does some incredible special schools on exactly that. Learning stuff, learning shapes through it, learning, maths, doing shapes one leg. So we've got the old rock, paper, scissors. They've got all sorts of shapes and they're performing with those things. And talking about 4 sides, quick as you can, 4 sides, all that type of stuff,
And for our youngest learners, we've of course got active songs and stories, which are, they're a brilliant way to add in daily activity, aren't they?
That's the stuff I really wish I had as a teacher. Because when I first went to primary schools and failed for about 6 months, if I'd have had that stuff, I could have pulled it off. Because I could get me red coat and energy and get them going. But if I just knew that would be the thing that would really engage.
So in conclusion, our first real nonsense really, where we're not calling out something as a complete nonsense. We're saying that actually we know that daily activity is a really important concept. We know it's really important in schools. We're saying that maybe that kind of standardised running activity that has been seen in lots of schools over a number of years, that maybe that's a nonsense, but actually it depends on how it's set up and delivered, how it's introduced in schools. So for the first time ever, I think we're concluding with a it depends on how it's operated and how it's set up as to whether we think our topic for today is a nonsense.
That's quite a mature thing to say. Yeah, for me. Certainly.
Wow, we've changed. But brilliant today. Thank you. I think we've had some lovely solutions again around how we could do that particular topic better, and some other solutions around daily activity, which I love. We've kind of branched into that, which has been brilliant.
And can I just quickly say, for members out there on your platform, and I'm only saying this because I was quite embarrassed yesterday because John stayed overnight to come to this podcast. He was showing me what's on that daily physical activity stuff, and it's an incredible pit. So if you haven't yet discovered that, just have a little click in, have 5 minutes, just have a scan around there. You'll be very glad you spent that 5 minutes. Fabulous
Brilliant.
stuff.
Thank you for joining us for Real Nonsense again today, both of you.
Thanks, Tony.
And if you haven't given us a listen yet, this is your first time, please check out all our podcasts on realpe.co.uk and on other streaming channels, Spotify, Podbean. And if you've got any Real Nonsense suggestions for us, then get in touch.
Lovely,
Thank you.
The real world.